And it's live. And we don't have anyone logged in yet.
Shall I wait for a second then?
Yeah.
And then you'll disappear, right?
Yep, I'm going to do that right now.
Why?
Still here.
Does your picture stay there?
Yes, and your guests are on. See you soon.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening's workshop. I am so pleased to have you here tonight because we are going to be exploring how to create confident kids to eliminate bullying. I'm Marty L. Ward, and I'm the founder of Create Confident Kids to Eliminate Bullying. And what is going to be different about tonight is that you are going to get a fresh perspective on how to understand bullying, how to see bullying. And so who this webinar is for parents, for teachers, administrators, people who work with children who are willing to see things differently, to have a fresh perspective on bullying and how we can create confident kids. And the people who it's not for, the webinar is really not for people who want to continue to look at how it's the bully's fault and how we need to control the bully, punish the bully, shame the bully. Because the reason is, it's that isn't working well for us. It isn't helping us to really get to the root of what is going on and how we can actually take care of and protect our kids. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over and have us get onto the slides, but I just wanted to say hi in person before I did that. So again, welcome. Oh my goodness, how exciting that looks. Let's see. I'm not sure how to undo that.
Head on over to your PowerPoint. We can see your screen.
Okay, thank you. Are we good?
We lost your screen share.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'm so glad I got great tech support. Let's try clicking once, see what happens, and then we'll go. All right, are we good?
We lost your screen share.
Oh my goodness gracious. So interesting. Ah. Okay, are we good now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for your patience. And so again, welcome. And what is going to be different about our workshop tonight is that we are going to be looking at things, as I say, from a fresh perspective. We're going to look at the two big mistakes that can be made in dealing with a child about the bully. You know, what I've noticed about all of us is that, you know, when we don't know what to say or what to do about a problem in our life, we can tend to want to ignore it and not really want to know it's there. And so that's something that I've noticed that people have been doing, parents and teachers, administrators, and those working with children, they can do that. So I want to give you answers. I want you to feel confident and secure about your knowledge and what you can look for in kids to know if they are or aren't being bullied, and also about the bully. The other thing we can do is focusing on the wrong things, which can be punishment and retaliation, in the hopes that that is going to make a difference. And what we have found is that that has not been very successful so far. And the other very most important thing I want to share with you tonight is one simple thing that will increase your kids' ability to cope with mean kids. And we're going to talk a lot about that because that's crucial for you to have some tools to be able to use. And what we're going to do is we're going to tag kids for success with their talents, their abilities, and gifts, which I'll talk to you more about later. And why this is different is really that we are going to be focusing on creating confident kids rather than, which is what we want, rather than on what we don't want. And the reason for that is that what I discovered is that people like Nelson Mandela, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, and Martin Luther King realized that the way to turn the tide of history was to focus on what they wanted, not on what they didn't want. And so that's one of the things that made me create this program with the focus on creating confident kids, was to follow those in history who were able to turn the tide, even that against insurmountable odds. So I figured that they had a solution that I wanted to follow. So the other thing is you're going to learn that the key to eliminating bullying is not by controlling the bully, but by children knowing that they are okay exactly as they are, and how that can give them the confidence to be able to know how to deal with mean kids is one of the focuses of our workshop. Now people say, you know, Marty, why you? Why is this so important? Well, my whole world stopped when I read about a little girl, a beautiful little girl named Ashlyn Connor out in Illinois. And she was 10 years old when she hung herself rather than went to school that day because she was afraid of confronting the bully. And I just said, enough, enough. No more bright lights need to be snuffed out. So as a former 100-ton boat captain, I decided that I would welcome children aboard the relationship, that they would learn to captain the most important ship of their life, their relationship with themselves and with their family and with their school and with their friends. And so I create Confident Kids to be able to share that with children across the country and eventually around the world. And the reason that this is such a, I was so touched by Ashlyn's light being snuffed out, is that as a child and throughout my life, much of my life, I have been bullied as well. And I felt, you know, like I had this bright light that was shining, but I wasn't allowed to play in reindeer games, that I really felt it made me feel not good enough. I felt ignored, disregarded. Although I grew up in a very loving, caring, supportive home, I still felt emotionally suffocated, not seen, not heard. And I have three older siblings that are 10, 8, and 5 years older. And as loving and caring as they are, and as much support as they give me, and which allows me to do this work, as a child growing up, I felt like it was them and then there was me. And for those of you who are familiar with feeling that yourself and feeling bullied, you'll know that that's one of the most powerful things that a bully can do, is to leave you out, not include you. It gives you that feeling that there's something wrong, intrinsically wrong with you, and that maybe you're not lovable or likable after all, and that you're not valued. And you can see me here out riding my bike, and I was able to even take my hands off of the handlebars and do what I call the flying angel. I love to be outside, which is where I felt free to be me, to express myself. And another place I expressed myself was as a writer. And at 10, I wrote the book Trail to Misty Mountain. And why this is important is because this is crucial for you and working with your children and being with your children, to be aware of their talents, their abilities, and their gifts, because those are the very essence of who we are. And when I wrote The Trail to Misty Mountain, of course, back then we did it on paper and, of course, with a pen, and I had to keep writing it over and over and over again and do the drawings. And I finally got it all done, put it in my desk drawer, and I went off to camp, and it was an overnight camp. And when I came home, my mother was all excited because she couldn't wait to show me my new room. I was going to be my big girl room, my sister's room. And we walked past my old bedroom, and I noticed my desk was gone. And I said, Mom, where's my desk? And she said, I gave it away. And as we got closer and closer to my sister's room, I said, Mom, where's my book? And she said, what book? Now, my mom had no idea what she had done. She had no idea that she'd thrown out my work that I'd worked on for months and months. But as a child, those are the things that can help you to, cause you to feel that snuffed out, that you get like a hole inside, which is, I equate that, I say we look like Swiss cheese inside, and that we shut down the very expression of who we are. And that's when we dim that bright light. And this can happen, we've all been, parents, and we've all said and done things we wish we hadn't said or done. And we all understand that this happens, and we're all human. But what can happen is that when our child says, Mommy, 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 look at my picture, look at my picture. And we're busy and cooking dinner. We say, put it up in the fridge, put it up in the fridge. And then we go and we cook dinner, and right before we go to call everybody, we might go over to the garbage, and there crushed on top of the garbage can be that child's picture. And they may have felt, wow, I thought I was an artist, but I guess I'm not. I thought I was important, but maybe not. I thought I mattered, but I guess not. And we get those holes inside. And so we need to pay attention when that creative expression of who we are is shared, and handle it carefully. Because what I discovered is that later on in my life, even though I was very, very successful at times in my life, I have a 100-ton captain's license, ran a sailing school on the Hudson River for 10 years, where I created programs for autistic, emotionally challenged kids, been a teacher, a school-based social work in a high school with 1,400 kids, creating mentoring programs, and run nonprofits, and been a very, very successful yacht broker in Annapolis, Maryland. Sailed back from Bermuda 4 times. Oh my Lord, 600 miles from Bermuda to the East Coast. I could do all of that, but when I went from being a very successful yacht broker in Annapolis to being a complete failure when I went to Miami with the purpose that I was going to sell those big $14 million boats and I was going to be rich, and I actually ended up being a complete failure. That different things, that those feelings of emptiness, insecure, not good enough, never going to make it, not valuable, not listened to, not heard, created an action in me that I didn't even understand. I didn't know that was what was driving the bus. I always say the subconscious drives the bus. I didn't know that was what was causing me to throw good money after good money at programs and businesses where I could feel important, look good, think I was a leader, show my leadership, and that I could do this. You see, I am important. I am someone to be listened to. And what happened is that I went from being worth over $1 million to having $7 in my bank account 3 weeks before Christmas. And Christmas is Christmas, even when your kids are older. And so it was a very challenging time. But what I discovered is one day I realized that I had been totally out of integrity with myself. And as I chased those shiny businesses and things to help me to fill those empty holes in the Swiss cheese that I talked about, what I realized is I was out of integrity. And so I closed 4 of the 5 businesses that I was running, and I kept my coaching business because that's who I am. And I went downstairs and I sat down and I began to write my first book, My Private Sessions. And 12 hours later, I looked up and saw that it was midnight. And by unlocking that creative potential that had been squished when off and on throughout my life, as situations happened and incidences went along, I unlocked that creative potential. And by doing that, I was able to turn my life and my business around. And in my coaching business, as I did that with each of my clients who came frustrated, stuck, struggling, broke, busted, disgusted, because they too had lost that vitality. They'd lost something. Even though they'd been successful, they'd lost something. When we unlocked their creative potential, by one person happened to write a book who was a doctor and stuck and struggling, and he turned into an Amazon best-selling author and feeling fulfilled with his life. Someone else who was a real estate investor started belly dancing twice a week. Really think about this for yourself. What are the things that you are denying yourself that you would bring you pleasure, that are keeping you from really living life? And that's what can turn us around. And so what I said is, wow, what if I could do this with kids? What if I could give this to kids so they would never have to forget how fabulous they are? And when we do that and we support our creative expression, you can see that the Swiss cheese holes get filled in a way that is permanent, where we're able to feel fulfilled and excited about each and every day. And that's what I wanted to happen for children. And I wanted to, and so what I want you to do is take a look at this video that will be being shown. And then I wanted to talk to you about what was going on, and about what you might have seen if you want to put something in the chat or ask me a question. So Jessica, if you could put on the video. Can you hear me now? Jessica, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, am I still on?
No, we lost your video.
Okay, did you, my screen share?
No, we lost all your video.
Oh, so am I continuing? What am I doing?
Try hitting refresh on your browser.
Okay.
There we go. Now we got the video back. Now screen share again.
Okay. All right. Okay, can you see me?
I can see you.
Okay, so you got my screen?
I can see you.
Okay. And here we go, guys. Okay. Oh, let's do it this way. How's that? Okay,
There
good.
you go. You are good to go.
All right. Well, everyone, I appreciate you hanging in there. And so the video was about the bully, the bullied, and the bystander. There were two 7th grade girls who were fighting, and the bully was pulling one girl's hair, very long hair. And the interesting thing is that the bystander was taking the video. And what we'll do is I'll send you that, a link to that, so you'll be able to look at it yourself. But what's interesting is that the reason for this was jealousy, because one little girl looked more like a character from Frozen than the bully. And so she was jealous of her. And what we find is that often teasing, name calling, laughter is going to be about jealousy, which is where when we don't feel that we are able to have or to be what that other person is, that we can feel jealous and strike out. And what we have found, what research has found, is that when the bully, who is the most hurt person in the room, lost, sad, lonely, angry, can be abused, hurt, and when they lose empathy, when they are so hurt that they lose their empathy, that is when bullying can be very severe. And we need to reach those children before that happens. And often that can be from being traumatized by something in their life. And so they are now recreating a trauma for someone else. And so that's why it's so important to be able to get to have these kids feeling fabulous about themselves. And so, but let's take a look at you know, what I say is you being able to see the warning signs of bullying. And so that, you know, as I said before, you know, when we don't know what to say or do, then we can want to ignore it. And when we ignore it, then damage can happen to our children. And so some of the warning signs, what I want you to do in order to find the warning signs is to open your heart and to stop for a moment, to stop, to look, open your eyes, and open your mind and listen and hear what your children are saying to you. Because what can happen is that when we don't stop, look, and listen, we can miss them running in out of the car or from the bus into their room and hiding under the covers because someone bullied them that day and shamed them and humiliated them in a way, and they didn't know what to say or do. And you see, the truth of it is that it's only when we believe the bully that we are hurt. So when they're hurt and they don't know how to handle it, that's what can happen. The other thing to look for, another sign would be a child unexpectedly not eating. And no matter what you do, you can't encourage them, you can't punish them enough for them to start to eat. And that can be a sign of them in smaller children that they're trying to let you know that something's not okay. And that can often lead to being sick, either being sick or pretending they're sick because they have a tummy ache a lot. You might notice tummy aches, you might notice colds, unusual number of colds, unusual amount of tummy aches. And that could be a sign of bullying. And I know, I for one in 6th grade, where I was being bullied actually by the teacher, I got sick at the beginning of the year and I got to stay home and I went, oh, this is really cool. I think I'm going to try and do this more often. And I found every excuse possible under the sun. Sometimes I actually was sick. Most of the time I was pretending. And the result for me was actually that I stayed back. And when I stayed back, that convinced me that I was stupid. The fact that I hadn't gone to school enough, I had passed my classes, but not well enough, my parents felt, for me to have a solid foundation. So they felt it was better if I stayed back. But that convinced me that I was stupid. And the effect of that later in life was that even though I was on the dean's list in college, I still felt that I wasn't smart. And so these things have a long-term effect. So, you know, when we don't know what to say or don't know what to do, we can all fool ourselves. You know, it's just kids being kids. If your children come home and talk about a tussle with Susie or George, or somebody took their books, or somebody threw their books on the ground, or put their coat in the garbage, you know, oh, it's just kids being kids. But really stop, look, and listen. They're giving you signals. They're letting you know that there's a challenge going on, and they really are reaching out. And so, you know, the other thing we might do is say, oh, the kids will just work it out on their own. Well, yes, it's crucial that we teach our children to be autonomous. We give them the skills to be able to negotiate with themselves and with another child so that they can resolve problems. But if they're coming to you, they are asking for help. So you really want to stop, look, and listen. Sometimes we might say, oh, just become their friend, and then they won't bully you anymore. Well, it's another yes, and. It is true that the bully is hurting, and that if we can reach out to them and let them know how valuable they are, we can help to turn them around. A friend of mine who was a teacher in 3rd grade had a boy in her class, and another teacher came in and said, you know, Johnny beat up George in my class today. Can you come in and talk to the students? And so she idly went into the classroom and said, you know what? You know what happened to George the other day? His mom died 2 days ago. And the little boy who'd been beaten up went over and put his arm around him and said, hey, come on, let's go play. So yes, that can be important to know what's going on with the bully. But it's also important that you are there to listen and hear what they have to say so you can discern what is the right approach to take. And sometimes we think, oh, don't rock the boat, you know, and, you know, we don't want to say anything. We don't want the kid to, you know, have more bullying going on. Well, those are all things. Timing is everything. It is important about the timing. But it's also you deciding when it is appropriate to take a stand and for you to honor and value what is going on with your child, and to be able to approach the right people, authority figures that are dealing with the children, to be able to support them and be there for them. In an older child, what you want to look for, what can happen is bulimia and anorexia. Either they're eating too much or they're eating too little. You might look for telltale signs of crumbs or food, unusual food spills, either in their bedroom or in the bathroom. You might be looking in the pantry and wondering where all the cookies are going or all the chips are going, and how come you thought you just bought them yesterday and they're gone. You also, when a child is at a restaurant, if they run quickly to the bathroom as soon as they eat, that could be a sign for you to pay attention to. And because they feel that they have something that they can control. So if the bully is using their force, they feel out of control and they want to find a way to be back in control. The other thing you might find with an older child is you might look for signs of cutting, small looking scratches that they might, oh, the cat scratched me kind of thing. You want to look for circular marks, which could be cigarette burns. That's them wanting, one of the reasons they do that is to want to feel they're in control of the pain that they're giving and feeling, and that it hurts more on the outside than it does on the inside, and they're trying to compensate and find a way to feel in control of the pain that they're feeling. So those are some of the signs that you can look for. The other thing that we talked about at home or at school can be focusing on the wrong things, which is punishment and retaliation with the bully. What you want to do is you want to reach out to them as well as to the bullied child. In either case, it won't be punished away. We have tried to do that and it hasn't worked. It's actually increasing bullying instead. And so what happens is, though, when we don't have an answer and we don't know what else to do, we might give a child time out. A friend of mine told me that their child was being bullied by another child and the teacher gave them time out. And her son said, well, that's great, Mom, but when he comes back, he still calls me that name. So punishing is not the key. It really is reaching in and helping kids to know how valuable they are, how talented, able, and gifted they are. And the reason that punishment and getting retaliation don't work is that what you resist persists. What you focus on, you get more of. And when you resist something, what happens is that when you resist knowing something, what happens is we cover up what is really going on. And therefore, what happens is it grows, which is what's happened with bullying by focusing just on the bullying. In fact, what we found is that 4,600 kids commit suicide each year